Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we have a little bit of a special review. This is my first review filming using my new camera. So I'm using my Asus Zenfone 8 Flip. Pretty awesome, I have to say. Just looking at the picture I can see on the screen, it looks pretty damn good. We're filming in 4K now, which is awesome. We do have the capability to film in 8K, but I think, I don't think we really need 8K for a beer review yet. So yeah, we'll stick to the 4K just now, but it looks pretty cool actually. But I do apologise in this video if any of the positions and things are a little bit off, because I'm still getting used to exactly how this phone functions and things like that. But so far, I have to say it looks pretty good actually, and I hope that you guys enjoy the videos going forward. A lot better than working with that horrible GoPro thing, I have to say. But yeah, as you might notice from the change in background as well, I'm back in the motherland of Scotland too, which is great. So yeah, as we always do when I'm back home, we're going to kick off with a beer from one of my local breweries here in Clackmannanshire. So for this review, we are going to head a couple of miles down the road to Alloa, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Williams Brothers Brewing Company. So this particular beer is called the Honey Thief. It comes in at 5.2% ABV, and this one is a honey golden ale. Now, this beer's been out for a good number of years, but it's one that I've just never got around to reviewing and even tasting. I've never tried this beer before, actually. But yeah, I got this one in Sainsbury's the other day, and it was just a case of I was looking for something I hadn't had from Williams Brothers, and this was the one that I saw, so why not? But yeah, very much looking forward to finally getting around to trying this one. I do enjoy honey beers and meads and things like that. I don't review all that many of them right enough, and I don't drink all that many of them, but it is nice to finally get around to reviewing the Honey Thief from Williams Brothers. So let's see how we get on with this one. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this as well. So let's get started. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Williams Brothers Brewing Company before, and we will no doubt add more to that list in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Williams Brothers Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So Williams Brothers Brewing Company finds its origins in the family-owned Glen Brew homebrewing shop through in Glasgow. But the first ale that was produced was inspired by a 17th century Gaelic recipe for Freya Heather ale, which is named, of course, after the synonymous Celtic mythological hero. But in 1988, a woman of Gaelic descent came into the brew shop with a translation of this recipe from Gaelic into English, and she wanted to create a batch of this beer to share with her family. And basically, she agreed with Bruce Williams that she would share the recipe with him in exchange for help brewing the batch, and that's what they did. But I think there is now a sort of informal agreement where this woman and her family basically get as much of the Freya Heather ale as they want, because that was the thing that really kicked off Williams Brothers. But they produced a small batch of this to start with, of only 5 barrels. It was produced in the Taynoak railway station near Oban. And the following year, word of mouth meant that the demand for this beer had just increased dramatically. So in 1989, Scott Williams joined his brother Bruce, and at this point they began to develop other historic recipes such as the Groatsit, which is a gooseberry wheat ale, the Kelpie seaweed ale, the Ebalum elderberry black ale, and also the Alba Scots pine ale. I think it's only Alba out of those 3 that I've reviewed, so I need to get on that and review the other 3 for you at some point. I've been saying that for quite a wee while, so next time I go to Valhalla's Goat in Glasgow, I'll see about picking those 3 up. But yeah, they were known in the early days for their historic recipe beers. But the official start date of Williams Brothers is listed as 1992, and those 4 recipes that I've just mentioned to you were originally produced at the Maclay Brewery in Alloa, but then they also produced them later on at the Craigmill Brewery in Strathaven, which was a brewery that Williams Brothers actually built themselves between 1998 and 2004. But in 2004, the company relocated to their current base at the 4th Brewery in Kellybank in Alloa, and it was then that they officially adopted the name Williams Brothers Brewing Company. But oddly enough, they're the last brewery in the old brewing capital of Scotland. As I've told you in various reviews, there used to be massive breweries here in Alloa, and we've got lots of you know, whiskey bonds and things like that, where the whiskey sits and matures, which is pretty cool. So we always get a little bit of a kind of black moss thing on the house here that comes because of the angel share. But yeah, these guys are the last brewery in the old brewing capital of Scotland, but they've built up the capacity of this brewery to be 100,000 hectolitres, and they've got plans to build a new brewery near the current site which is going to double their capacity to 200,000 hectolitres. But these days the brewery is run by Chris Williams, who is Bruce's son, and Scott is also still involved a little bit at the company as well. And like I've said to you previously, these guys own a few different things. If you go through to Glasgow, they own the Valhalla's Goat Shop. They own the In Deep Bar, which is kind of underneath that, right next to it, I guess you could say. And they've also got a share in the Drygate Brewing Company as well, which is a collaboration brewery with tenants, I guess you could say. So yeah, these guys have got a hand in quite a few of the craft beer things that go on here in Scotland, which is pretty cool. But I would say this brewery are known mainly for their session ales. In recent times, they've been releasing a series called the Totemic Tall Boys, which are a little bit more kind of orientated towards the American craft beers. But I would say, yeah, Williams Brothers are best known in Scotland for their session beers. And like I say, my favourites would probably be Caesar Augustus, and I like the Pavlov's Dog as well, a slightly more malty light ale actually. But yeah, Joker is a very popular one. I do like a Joker now and then, but Caesar Augustus for me is what it's all about with Williams Brothers Brewing. These guys do some very, very nice session beers, as we say. But yeah, that is all I can really tell you about Williams Brothers Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can of course check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get cracking with the actual review then. So, as I said to you at the start of the video, this one is a 5.2% golden ale with honey added into it. The hops in this one are Cascade and First Gold, and it's got a malt base of lager, cara and malted wheats. So yeah, there we go. But I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one again before we open it up. Still getting used to this because of the new camera, but there you can see. Artwork is pretty nice. Let me just bring that in for you. There you can see the Williams Brothers Brewing Company symbol there. That is pretty cool. You can see the bottle is sweating because of the crazy heat that we're having here in Scotland at the moment. But yeah, nice artwork as you always get. And there is the Williams Brothers bottle cap. So yeah, awesome stuff. I have to say the focus on this new camera is awesome, isn't it? It's great. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Curious to see what this has in store for us. Yes, here we are. A little bit of smoke on the opening. And we'll get this guy out and into the glass. I'm probably going to get a lot of bubbles on this glass, but I rinsed it just before we... yeah, that's annoying. Washed the glass before I used it and I still get loads of bubbles. What can you do? Annoying. But yeah, my drum stool, I have to say, is a pretty good wee place to sit these beers, I have to say. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I can see that there's... that's not going to do much. The bubbles will go away a bit later on. But anyway, as you can see... Oh, positions. There we go. But as you can see, this one is poured kind of as you'd expect. It's got a solid, I would say, finger and a bit of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. Absolutely perfect white head. You can see that the beer itself, the glass is sweating a little bit just because of the heat, but this beer is crystal clear. This is a crystal clear golden ale, this one. So yeah, lovely kind of pale golden straw colour. You can see there was quite a bit of carbonation sticking towards the side of the glass, and there's still a fair wee bit, but a good few things just going up towards the bottom of that head there, which looks very, very nice. But yeah, I really like how this beer kind of goes together. It looks exactly as you'd expect from a honey golden ale. I actually would have thought it would have been a little bit more honey coloured, if you like, but it looks just like a kind of pilsner or a regular golden ale or something like this. But crystal clear, as we say, and I don't think there's too much else we really need to say about the appearance of this one. Yeah, pale golden straw, lovely finger of a frothy, perfect white head, a few big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and little ones just going towards the bottom of that head there. But I mean, overall, it looks very, very nice. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we go with this. Yeah, that does smell pretty nice. Now I'm going to say as well, one thing I've said about these kind of more sessionable beers with Williams Brothers in the past, usually
You can always tell a Williams Brothers beer, and I think it's usually because they like using, you know, a bit of Maris Otter and things like that. They've just got there's a distinctive thing about the malt base in these beers that usually mean you can tell that this is you know, that you can usually use that and tell that this is a Williams Brothers beer. This one not so much actually. This one's a bit different, and I think when it's only got 3 malts in it, that's a little bit unusual, I think, for Williams Brothers. So this one does smell a wee bit different, and it might just be because of the honey or whatever. But yeah, whatever it is, it smells pretty nice and pretty inviting anyway. Nice, lovely, light, sessionable beer. So yeah, the malt base of this one, then you've got a kind of backbone of that kind of typical bread crusty type thing. So it's got a lovely kind of bread crusty backbone to it. You can smell a little bit of an almost kind of brown bready, wholemeally bready character in there. There's 1 or 2 little, you know, you do get a little bit of a kind of woody aspect to the beer, definitely. There's a little bit of that in there. But I mean, yeah, the backbone of this one, a little bit woody, nice bit of a kind of bread crusty note to it, some kind of brown wholemeally bread, and that's it. I think the malty backbone in this beer is pretty kind of straightforward and straight shooting in a lot of ways. You know, you can smell some, you can definitely get a little bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuity note out of this one. You can smell a little bit of you do get a wee tiny hint of caramel out of this, but it really smells more like that kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity syrupy sort of thing. It really smells like that stuff that kind of holds the biscuit together almost, if you like. So yeah, quite a bit of biscuity character out of this one, and you do get the kind of more oily honeycomb sort of thing out of this, which I think is really nice. So yeah, the malty backbone to this beer is kind of what you'd expect, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, if you take it in quite deeply, you know, the woodiness I think comes out a wee bit more. The kind of breadiness is in there, the bread crust. There's a wee bit of a kind of woody sort of character with this one, which I do like. I think that starts to come out a wee bit more the more you get used to the aroma of this beer, absolutely. So yeah, the aroma of this one is quite nice, but like I say, it doesn't quite have the same graininess that you'll get from a number of the other Williams Brothers beers, but there's nothing wrong with that. And this one seems a little bit more like a kind of straight shooting, straightforward beer, actually. But yeah, it is nice. It didn't say what kind of honey actually that they put into this particular beer, but anyway, whatever it is, sure it'll be good. Maybe it'll probably be a slightly different honey from the Freyk, of course. But yeah, the aroma of this is pretty nice. So on the hoppy side of things, I definitely get a little touch of earthiness out of this one. Absolutely. There's quite a bright floral aromaticity to this one. When it's got Cascade in it, it's going to have that. Cascade, of course, 8% alpha acid American hop, usually gives you a little bit of grapefruit and things like that. First Gold, I'm not 100% familiar with, but I think I've had it a few times, and I think they use it in a couple of their beers. But yeah, the First Gold, I think, is giving you a nice kind of bright floral aromatic sort of thing to this one as well, and you get a lovely kind of bright zesty grassy note on the front tip of the nose almost, which is cool. I'm emming a lot in this video as well, probably just because I've not filmed in about a week. But yeah, so the green component of this one, as I say, a bit earthy, nice big kind of floral note. The floral aromaticity in this beer seems quite deep actually, which I like. But then you've also got some really nice, you've also got a really nice little bit of kind of zesty grassy character in there as well, which I can certainly appreciate. But on the fruity side of things then, let's focus on that. On the fruity part of the beer, it's kind of interesting because you do get a little bit of that stronger kind of grapefruity note in there, so I like that. But you've also got a wee bit of a kind of, you've got a bit of a kind of oily pear, a little bit of an apple-y sort of thing, and you've got a little bit of an apple-y sort of thing, a little bit oily pear, as I say, and maybe a wee bit of a kind of gooseberry element to it as well, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I definitely see a bit of gooseberry, absolutely. Wee bit of gooseberry, a bit of an oily pear, and a wee bit of a kind of appley thing. And then behind that, you can certainly smell a wee bit of the Cascade. The Cascade's always going to give you that kind of grapefruity, slightly, slightly figgy note to the beer. So you can definitely get that in this one as well. But yeah, I think this beer goes together really nicely in terms of its aroma, but a bit different from what we've had from Williams Brothers in the past. So yeah, I think we should have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So yeah, this is the Honey Thief, 5.2% Honey Golden Ale from Williams Brothers Brewing Company, one of my local breweries here in Clackmannanshire in central Scotland. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, it's pretty nice. If you're familiar with Williams Brothers, you will think, yeah, this one is kind of what you expect from these guys. It's one of these beers, but as I say, if you know the brewery, you know what they're going for with this. This is just nice, sessionable beer, and as I said earlier, that's what I associate Williams Brothers with. These guys do some very nice kind of session beers. And this one is a wee bit sweeter than some of the other ones we've had, right enough. But yeah, I like it. I do like it. Let me just line this up again so that my OCD is happy. But yeah, very, very nice beer this again. So thumbs up to Williams Brothers Brewing once again for this beer. But yeah, let's break down the flavour for you a little bit more. This is one of these ones where it actually tastes very similar to what you think it's going to be from the aroma. So yeah, so middle and back third of your palate then, let's focus there. Straight away, the backbone of this beer is really nice and kind of bread crusty. You can feel that nice grainy bread crust just going right across the middle of your palate there, and it does actually stay quite grainy the further you go into the aftertaste as well. So I like that about this one. It is a bit more grainy than the aroma would have you believe. So yeah, that's the first point about this one. If we focus on the middle third of your palate for just now then, on the front half of that middle third of your palate, you can feel that there's a nice little bit of woodiness kind of sitting underneath there, which is interesting. So a little bit of a woody character sitting in there, and it actually smoothens out and becomes slightly sweet the further into the aftertaste that you go. So bear in mind that that's kind of sitting within these kind of bread crusty grainy characters. But on top of that, you've got a nice kind of smooth brown bready character coming out of this one as well. So you can feel that sort of smooth brown bready, wholemeal bready character sitting on top of that bread crusty backbone there. And then on top of that, that's when you start to get the kind of brown sugary elements. So if we focus on the middle third of your palate, then you can feel the sort of honey layer sitting on top of that kind of bready character there, and you can feel there's that nice oily honeycomb kind of thing. But when you go, it's almost like you've got a big circle in the middle of your palate there, but you can feel that the honey, the oily honey, just smoothens out everything else that sits on top of that. So at the extremities of that middle third of your palate, you can feel the biscuity notes, the McVitie's digestive biscuity notes, and in the very dead centre of the palate, you can feel a little bit of a kind of almost stronger, boozier caramel in there. You know, at 5.2% ABV, this beer is by no means going to blow the head off you. Absolutely not. But yeah, I mean, it has, you know, it does have that kind of that kind of sweetness to it, and this beer does have a little bit of a kind of boozier character to it, which is kind of interesting. I think that is just the presence of the honey that's given that impression. But yeah, dead centre of the palate, there's a slightly stronger, more concentrated boozy caramel in there. As you move further out from that, it gets a little bit more lighter and honey-like, and then towards the edge of that middle third of your palate, you've got a little bit more, you do have a little bit more of a McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. So I like how that goes together, absolutely. Yeah, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah, middle third of the palate, which is where the kind of complexity of this beer should be, is pretty solidly done. So let's focus on the other parts of the beer then. Back third of your palate, so the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of a bready build up in there, a wee bit of a kind of bread crusty sort of thing, and a bit of a grainy kind of character. Then the back third of your palate, again, you've got the bread crusty notes, and you've got a slightly thicker brown bready note there. Then on top of that, you get a more airy kind of yeasty type quality out of it. So yeah, I do like how that goes together. So you can feel On the back third of your palate, you can feel there's quite a tall, it's quite tall, then it kind of condenses down, a little bit. And as you go into the middle third of your palate, it just squashes together a wee bit more. And again, this is kind of what you'll quite often find in these beers. But let's focus on the hoppy part of the beer. So back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it gets a wee bit herbal, as we would say. And then as you push towards the kind of front corners of the palate, you do get a little bit of that kind of nice, big, spicy floral aromaticity in this one. It does almost have a wee teeny bit of a piney resin underneath it, which you can sometimes get from Cascade. As I say, I'm not 100% sure about First Gold, but I do find that you can get a little bit of a kind of piney resin from Cascade sometimes. But then round the front curve of the palate, this beer is distinctly lighter, and more sort of grassy. So I do like how that goes together in this one as well. So yeah, that's interesting for sure. Yeah, so nice lighter sort of grassy one with this. And the grassiness actually has a wee bit of zest to it as well, which is interesting. But yeah, front third of your palate then. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate. Again, there's a wee bit of a bready build up there, wee bit of a sort of grainy thing. Then the base of that front third of your palate is definitely a more kind of smooth. It's definitely a more kind of smooth, kind of white bready sort of thing underneath that, which is interesting. And then on top of that, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So for me, the fruity juicy side of this beer, if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you certainly get a bit of that kind of grapefruity thing from the Cascade. That's definitely there. And then as you move further forward, it's like the Cascade mellows out a little bit and you start to get that kind of figgy, you get that sort of figgy, how do we say, that kind of figgy, brain's not working here, you get that little bit of a figgy kind of slightly red fruity thing from the Cascade. And then as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate with this beer, you get the more oily kind of peary notes, and I do get quite a bit of gooseberry, pardon me, just on the kind of front, just behind the front tip of your tongue there. Actually, there's quite a bit of an oily gooseberry thing there, so quite a bit of pear, quite a bit of gooseberry, and then there's maybe just a wee touch of a kind of slightly spicy apple thing sitting on top of this. So yeah, quite an interesting array of flavours there. But the fruity side of this beer is pretty oily actually, but it works, it does work. Yeah, this is an interesting beer, this one, I like it. But I think we can move on to the mouthfeel then to round off this review. So, mouthfeel wise. For me, this is one of the more kind of oily beers. It's still, you know, as I say, Williams Brothers session beer brewery, in my opinion. So this is definitely one of the slightly heavier and more oily session beers that you're going to find from them. So by their standards, it is a little bit thicker, but at the same time, it's quite it's kind of bottom end and mid-bodied, or yeah, mid-bodied, bottom end and mid-bodied, smooth carbonation, quite oily and slick in a lot of ways. I would definitely say that. In terms of the hoppy bitterness and things in this one, I think this is about 30-ish IBUs, something like that. It does have a wee bit of IBU to it, but you always have to remember with these Williams Brothers beers, some of that, to a degree, some of that comes from the kind of graininess that you have in the beer as well. So there is a wee bit of a kind of grainy sort of thing to this beer too, which I do like. So yeah, a wee bit of graininess in there. And that's also kind of contributed to the bitterness, but I think, yeah, about 30-ish IBUs. I think that's about fair for this one. It could be slightly more, but I think about 30. But yeah, Malt Base is, as I say, quite grainy and quite smooth, but it does have a good degree of sweetness to it. And I find this beer gets sweeter the further you go into the aftertaste, and the fruity part of the beer for me is quite oily. So it's got a little bit of that kind of more pungent tropical fruit from the Cascade, but then it's got the more kind of oily fruits in there as well, you know, the peary, gooseberry type things. So yeah, I really like how this beer goes about its business in that sense. I think it works really, really nicely. So yeah, very good stuff from Williams Brothers once again. I like this one actually. Is it my favourite beer that I've had from Williams Brothers? I think it's going to be very hard to shift, you know, to move Pavlov's dog and Caesar Augustus from that kind of pedestal, if you like. But is it another nice beer? Absolutely. Yep, as we always say, beer is subjective. Different people like different things, and I think this is another solid one from Williams Brothers. So yeah, well done to them for that. And this was a very nice beer to film as my first one back in Scotland in a few months. So yeah, I think we can leave it there. So yeah, this was the Honey Thief, a 5.2% honey golden ale from Williams Brothers Brewing Company in Alloa in Clackmannanshire here in central Scotland, one of my local breweries. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Williams Brothers Brewing Company, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point soon. But until the next time, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, and see you guys in the next review. There we go.